You know, it's funny. Sometimes you read something so old, it should feel, I don't know, dusty, right? But instead, it feels like it could have been written this morning. Some advice, it seems, just doesn't have an expiration date. And today, we're going to dive into a pretty powerful example of that. We're looking at a single chapter of ancient wisdom that is just packed with guidance that feels, well, startlingly relevant for all of us right now.
So the text kicks off with this absolute bombshell of a statement. Right away, it forces you to ask yourself, what do I really value? Is it the big house, the feast that's totally Instagram-worthy, all the outward signs of success? Or is it that quiet, internal peace that you just can't buy? It's a massive trade-off to think about, and they put it right there at the very beginning.
And really, the opening quote just perfectly tees up the big question for us today. What does this ancient wisdom say truly makes a good life? We're going to break this whole thing down and see what it points to as the core components of a meaningful, well-lived life. And I gotta say, some of the answers, they might just surprise you.
All right, so first up, let's explore that foundational idea. What's the real source of well-being? And right away, the text points inward. It kind of suggests that it's not so much about what's happening to us, but what's happening inside of us.
And this is where we get this really brilliant insight into the whole mind-body connection. Thousands of years ago, on one hand, you have a cheerful heart is good medicine. But then, look at the flip side. A crushed spirit dries up the bones. I mean, wow, this isn't just some nice poetry. It's a super clear statement that our internal state, our joy or our despair, it has a direct physical impact on us. One literally builds you up, while the other, it just breaks you down from the inside out.
Okay, so from our internal state, the text moves outward to something we all use every single day, constantly, our words. And the next big theme here is that speech isn't just, communication. It's treated as one of the most powerful currencies we have.
So just how powerful are they? Well, according to this, they're not just sounds we make. Think of them more like tools. Tools that can literally build up relationships and communities, or tear friendships apart completely.
And what's really fascinating here is the focus isn't on what to say, but on what you don't say. The whole argument is that true knowledge isn't about showing off how much you know. It's about having the restraint to use your words carefully. It even goes so far as to say that just keeping quiet is a strategy so powerful, it can make a fool look wise. I mean, think about that. Silence, in this context, is a total power move. It's a sign of strength.
And this lays out a choice that, let's be honest, we all face pretty much all the time. Do we cover over an offense, basically choose forgiveness to keep a relationship together, or do we repeat the matter and become that person, the agent of gossip, that just separates close friends? The text puts that choice and all its consequences squarely on our shoulders.
So throughout this whole chapter, we keep seeing this really stark contrast between two types of people, the wise and the fool. And it's important to know this isn't about intelligence like we think of it today. It's not about IQ. It's all about character and how teachable someone is.
So, what's the big difference then? What are the actual specific habits of mind, the actions that separate one from the other? Let's take a look at what the text lays out.
Okay, this is absolutely fascinating. The key difference isn't about who makes mistakes, because everyone does. It's about how you respond after you make one. A discerning person, they can learn from a simple, quiet correction. But the fool, they're so resistant to learning that even, 100 lashes, this extreme consequence, it just won't make a dent. It all boils down to one thing. Are you open to being corrected?
And then check out this observation on focus. The discerning person, they have a goal, right? A direction. They keep wisdom in view. But the fool, their eyes wander to the ends of the earth. I mean, come on, doesn't that sound incredibly familiar? It's like a perfect description for our modern distracted minds, just lost in endless scrolling, unable to focus on what really matters.
And the text makes it crystal clear that these choices don't just happen in a vacuum. Being a fool isn't some private affair. No, it causes deep personal pain, grief, and bitterness for the people who are closest to you, the people who care the most. Your character, or your lack of it, has a serious ripple effect.
So this whole idea of personal character, it naturally flows right into how we interact with other people. So for our final section, we're going to see how all this wisdom applies to, the messy business of living in a community. Everything from handling a simple argument to building a just society.
There's this proverb here that says, starting a quarrel is like breaching a dam. And this visualizes it so perfectly. It all starts with just a tiny crack.
a small offense. But the moment you make that choice to escalate it, to actually breach the dam, it just becomes this uncontrollable, destructive flood. So what's the advice? Simple. Drop the matter before a dispute breaks out. In other words, stop it when it's still just a crack.
But right in the middle of all these warnings about conflict, we get this absolutely beautiful and timeless definition of a true relationship. A real friend? They love at all times, not just when things are good. And our deepest bonds, like with a brother or sister, they are born for a time of adversity. That's when they're forged. That's when they're proven. That's what they're for.
And then the text zooms out from our personal relationships to the bigger picture of societal justice. And let me tell you, it does not mince words. It lays out a super clear ethical standard, saying that twisting justice, whether it's by taking bribes, acquitting the guilty, condemning the innocent, all of it is just fundamentally wrong.
So, when you put all these different pieces together, a really clear central message comes through. The wisdom we're talking about here, it has nothing to do with IQ points or just collecting a bunch of facts. It is all about character. It's about how you manage your own inner world, how you use your words, how you treat the people around you, and how you fight for what's right. It's something you live, not just something you know.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In our world today, right, a world filled with endless feasting on social media and constant strife, a world where our words can fly across the globe in an instant and there are countless distractions pulling at our attention every second, which piece of this, 3,000-year-old advice feels like the most difficult one to follow and maybe, just maybe, the most necessary one for you to hear right now?